Hey guys, what's up? We're going to go over something that is truly, truly important and basically explains why churches are confused and why atheists exist. Okay, all the evil in the Old Testament is basically why atheists exist. Okay, they don't want to believe in a God who killed kids. They don't, and that same God they think sent Jesus. So why would they believe Jesus if he came from that God? Well, I'm going to explain that that's not the case. And the evil of the Old Testament, majority of the verses that are violent, well, all the verses that are violent in that way, are from Satan. It's not God. You don't have to be afraid of the Father. The Father is perfect, Jesus says, and the Father and him are one. So if they're one, why would Jesus be disagreeing with them 6 times in Matthew 5? Okay, here's one of the more obvious examples, as you can see. In Hosea 13, it says, the Lord, JEHOVAH, Yahweh, Jehovah, is like a lion, a leopard, and a bear. Okay? Daniel confirms, but Daniel says it's the beast. The first beast was like a lion, a bear, and a leopard. Okay? Why would God have those animal archetypes the same as the beast? Okay, in Revelation, the New Testament confirms the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, feet were like a bear, mouth of a lion. Okay, so 2 verses say it's the beast, 1 says it's God, the Lord, Jehovah. Why? Because this is Satan disguised as an angel of light the whole time, y'all. It's like the end of Fight Club. The good guy was the bad guy the whole time at the end, and you can only find the context clues after seeing both. You can't see it the first time because you're just reading, going along. But when you see this and then you read it again, you say, well, how did that correspond to that? Okay? Jesus says, eye for an eye is evil. Turn the other cheek. Don't seek revenge. Let it go. Yahweh in Deuteronomy says, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. I'm going to get mine. You hurt me, I hurt you. Does that sound very Jesus-like? Does that sound like the loving Father that Jesus came from? Okay, so all through Matthew 5, Jesus is negating the Old Testament. And so if his Father in heaven is perfect, why would he be disagreeing with him? Because those verses are Satan, the devil, pretending to be God. That's his whole MO. You heard of Santa Claus? Jolly old Satanic, but he's red and it's an anagram for Satan. Like, wake up, people. Good God. Ironically, Good God is another great channel that shows me a lot of this stuff. Anyway, the other is Nine Nanya. Her channel's awesome. Leviathan, straight up, in the book of Job, says, out of his mouth is fire, and out of his nostrils are smoke. What does the book of Psalms say of God? Yahweh, God. It says there's smoke out of his nostrils, fire out of his mouth. It's two different concepts in the same exact verses. So they are corresponding to each other. They're context clues, they're allusions, foreshadowing. This is one of the most obvious ones. I mean, these are all the KJV translations. It's not a weird translation. 2 Samuel 24 says, the Lord stood against Israel and killed 70,000 men. 1 Chronicles 21 says Satan stood against Israel, did all that stuff with pestilence and killed 70,000 men. That's not some conspiracy. That's the King James Bible. Inerrant? Okay, well, I agree. If it's inerrant, then this contradiction is only explained if Yahweh is Satan. Seriously, logically, spiritually. It all makes sense. And it gives you more faith in Jesus and more faith that his mercy is the right way. 40 days and 40 nights, that's when Jesus was tempted by Satan. 40 days, 40 nights. But Yahweh was hanging out with Moses for 40 days and 40 nights. Why are those the same if they're different people or different entities? God versus Satan. They're both Satan. God wouldn't have anything to do with Satan. Speaking of which, it says God is light, but this says Yahweh creates darkness. So but in him is no darkness, according to the New Testament. So how can he create it if he doesn't have it? Okay? Exodus confirms, Exodus 20. Moses drew into the thick darkness where God was. But in him is no darkness, according to the New Testament. So those don't contradict each other. It just means Yahweh is Satan. It's that simple. The book of Acts says an angel brought Moses the Ten Commandments. Whereas the Old Testament says God brought him the Ten Commandments. We've all seen Charlton Heston. Okay? So God is not an angel. That's a basic concept in Christianity, Judaism. He's not just an angel. He's God. Guess who was an angel? Lucifer. He was cast out. All that stuff. No biggie. And also the book of Revelation talks about the emerald stone and the sapphire and all that stuff. The exact same jewelry as Isaiah 28. I don't have it here, but it's just another example. Isaiah 28 says the beast has all this jewelry, the king of Tyrus, which is an archetype of Satan. And Revelation 21 says the same exact jewelry of Yahweh the Lord. Okay, so a lot of that evil stuff in Revelation could also be Satan, obviously. It says the Lord Yahweh in Deuteronomy 28 gives him a sore from the sole of the foot to the top of the head, aka boils. But Job says Satan gives a sore from the sole of the foot to his crown, aka the head. So Yahweh and Satan, same characteristics. Wake up. Matthew says, don't swear at all. Jesus says in Matthew, don't swear. Whereas Deuteronomy 10, sorry, I don't have my glasses. I was tired of wearing them. Says, swear by me, Yahweh, completely contradicting Jesus. And Jesus is the truth. So if Jesus is not meshing, Jesus is not aligning with the Old Testament verses, that means it's Satan. That's logic. If the Bible's inerrant, that is the only cause. Ezekiel says, the soul that sinneth shall die. This is the good God. You who do the sin, your soul will die, not just your body. Not your children. Whereas 2 Samuel, Yahweh says, you and your kid are going to die. Like, why would you judge the kid for the father's actions? Okay? Unless you're an evil person. Jesus judges your soul, not your kid's soul for what you did or something immature. Here's an obvious one. Revelation 13:16. Mark of the beast causes both great and small, rich and poor to have a mark in their right hand or their forehead. Well, this is backwards, so whatever. Whereas Exodus 13:16, same numbers, another hint, another whopping, massive, huge hint from God to look into it. It says Yahweh gives a token upon your hand and the frontlets between thine eyes, your forehead, aka your pineal gland. Mark of the beast is going to mess with our third eyes. If thine eye is single, Jesus said that. He's not talking about these eyes. He's talking about your single eye, the pineal gland. Okay? Santos Bonacci even goes into that stuff. And as regards to sacrifices, Isaiah 1:11 is the good God. He says, what good are these sacrifices to me? I don't need them. And Isaiah 66, he says, he who kills an ox as if he killed a man, because that's a living, breathing thing. It feels pain. Whereas Leviticus 23 has a totally different attitude. Oh, kill that ox, kill that thing, kill that sheep for me. He needs all these things. And a lot of atheists intelligently critique that concept. Why do we need to pray to a God who, what kind of attitude is, what kind of a God would be a jealous God, basically? Okay, if he wasn't loving and full of mercy and grace. You never see Jesus have a negative trait like jealousy, We're almost done here. Revelation says Yahweh sends fire from heaven, whereas Exodus says Jehovah sends fire from heaven. Jesus says, don't kill any little ones. Okay, whereas Numbers 31, one of the most horrific chapters, and I had some root beer with my Chick-fil-A. Horrific chapters in the Bible. Numbers 31 and Deuteronomy 28. Most terrifying chapters that will make you 100% convinced that that's not the same Father that sent the loving Jesus. Numbers 31, kill all the little ones. Not good. And lastly, seeing God. The New Testament says, no one's heard or seen his face. Okay, they clarify that specifically only Jesus has seen the Father, whatever that glory is. Whereas, of course, Exodus 24 says, oh yeah, Moses saw him and 70 other people. They all saw God. So who are you to trust? These people in the Old Testament being confused by signs and wonders as an angel disguised as light, some reptilian alien technology that has all this cool stuff to make people confused and basically camouflage themselves as reptilians among society. So they think they're gods, just like all the Sumerian tablets say and the Anunnaki stuff. The Yahweh beast is some reptilian entity that has mind controlled the Jews and many people today. Okay. Anyway, whereas the New Testament says no one's seen God. Christians are so wrong. And what's cool is that this should give them more faith in Jesus, more hope that Jesus is the only way. The Bible isn't contradictory because there are context clues that explains away this evil as Satan the whole time. Not to mention it's an interesting party topic. Take it easy.